From old legends to fierce warriors, humans joined the battle. The stars were dying one by one. Admiral Taehyun stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching another solar system disappear from the galaxy map. Red lights blinked out, replaced by empty black. 3 years ago, the Void Swarm had appeared from nowhere. Now they had consumed 847 worlds. Nothing could stop them. Admiral Sanctuary Prime is sending evacuation orders, his science officer Hyejin said quietly. Her voice shook. Everyone knew what evacuation meant. It meant they had lost. It meant the end was coming. Taehyun looked at the ancient artifact sitting on his desk. He had found it 3 weeks ago on a dead planet. The planet had been empty for thousands of years, but this small metal box had survived. It had taken Hyejin 2 weeks to open it without breaking what was inside. Inside the box was a crystal that glowed with soft blue light. When they activated it, strange symbols appeared in the air. Hyejin had recognized some of them. They were from the old trade language, the one the galaxy used 10,000 years ago. Nobody spoke it anymore, but Hyejin knew how to read it. She was a historian before she became a soldier. The message was simple. When darkness comes, seek the third planet of Sol. Humanity waits. Humanity. That word made everyone on the bridge go silent. Humans were legends. Children's stories. Old myths about a species that could survive anything, that could adapt to any world, that never gave up. The stories said humans had built an empire once, then vanished during the Great Silence. Most people thought they never existed at all. We have to try, Taehyun said. Find these coordinates. Find Sol. The Coalition Council argued with him for 2 days. They said it was foolish to chase myths while the galaxy burned. They said humans were just stories. They said he was wasting time and ships, but Taehyun didn't care. He took 12 ships and left Sanctuary Prime. If the council wanted to wait and die, that was their choice. He would search for hope even if it was just a legend. The journey took 5 days. The coordinates led them to a region of space that wasn't on any modern map. As they got closer, Hyejin noticed something strange. Admiral, there's something here. Some kind of barrier. It's not natural. What kind of barrier? I don't know. The technology is beyond anything I've ever seen. It's like the space itself is hiding something. Then alarms started screaming across the bridge. Ships were appearing around them. Small, fast ships that moved like nothing Taehyun had ever seen. They were sleek and silver, covered in weapons. They're targeting us. Someone shouted, "Do not fire!" Taehyun ordered. Send them the artifact's message. Show them we come in peace. Hyejin transmitted the message. For a long moment, nothing happened. Then a voice came through their communication system. It spoke the ancient trade language perfectly. Coalition vessels, you have entered protected space. Power down your weapons and follow us. Any hostile action will be met with immediate destruction. The voice was calm, confident, human. Taehyun felt his heart race. Do as they say. Power down weapons. The silver ships guided them through the barrier. On the other side, Taehyun saw something that made him forget how to breathe. A blue and green planet hung in space like a jewel. Around it floated hundreds of stations, ships, and defensive platforms. Everything was active, everything was working. This wasn't a dead civilization. This was a thriving world. Dear stars, Hyejin whispered. They're real. Humans are real. One of the silver ships pulled alongside their flagship. Through the viewport, Taehyun could see the pilot, a human. He looked just like the old pictures from the ancient records. The pilot saluted, then spoke. Welcome to Earth, Admiral. I'm Captain Ji-hoon. We've been waiting a long time for someone to find us. They were escorted to an orbital station larger than any city Taehyun had ever seen. When they docked, a delegation was waiting. The leader was a woman with kind eyes and a calm smile. I am Ambassador Nari, she said in perfect Coalition standard language. Please come with me. We have much to discuss. The meeting room overlooked Earth. Taehyun couldn't stop staring at it. So many cities. So many lights. So much life. Why? He finally asked. Why did you hide? The galaxy needed you. We have stories about humanity. Stories about your courage, your strength, your will to survive. Where were you? Nari sat down slowly. 10,000 years ago, we saw the Coalition's first Great War. We saw how species destroyed each other over resources, territory, pride, and we looked at ourselves and saw the same violence, the same anger, the same capacity for destruction. So you ran away? No, Nari said firmly. We chose to evolve. We were dangerous, Admiral. To ourselves and to others. We had the technology to conquer the galaxy. We had the instincts to do it. So we stopped. We hid behind barriers and spent 10,000 years learning to be better. We became artists, philosophers, teachers. We built a culture of peace. And while you were finding peace, the galaxy suffered, Taehyun said bitterly. Nari's face showed pain. Yes, that is our shame. We were so afraid of what we could become that we forgot what we should be. Then help us now. The Void Swarm is destroying everything. In 3 months, maybe less, the last coalition worlds will fall. Billions will die. We need you. Nari stood and looked out at Earth. I will take your request to our council, but I cannot promise they will help. We have not fought a war in 10,000 years. Many believe we should never fight again. 3 days later, Taehyun stood before Earth's council. He showed them recordings of the swarm's attacks. He showed them worlds burning. He showed them children dying. He begged them to help. Chancellor Daehyun, the leader of Earth's council, listened to everything. Then he shook his head. We cannot help you. We are sorry for your loss. We are sorry for your pain. But if we return to war, we undo 10,000 years of peace. We cannot take that risk. Taehyun felt anger burn in his chest. Then you're cowards. You hide behind your philosophy while the galaxy dies. Perhaps we are, Daehyun said quietly. But it is a choice we must make. As Taehyun turned to leave, a young officer burst into the chamber. His face was white with shock. Admiral Taehyun, I'm sorry. A message just arrived from the coalition. Sanctuary Prime, it's gone. The swarm destroyed it, all of it. 8 billion people are dead. The room went silent. Taehyun felt his legs go weak. Sanctuary Prime was the heart of the coalition, the last stronghold. If it was gone, then everything was gone. He looked at the council. We have nowhere left to run. The swarm will not stop until they consume everything, including Earth. Chancellor Daehyun's hands were shaking. This session is adjourned. We need time to think. But as Taehyun walked back to his ship, he wondered if there was any time left at all. From old legends to fierce warriors, humans joined the battle. The news of Sanctuary Prime's destruction spread across Earth like wildfire. For the first time in 10,000 years, humans faced a choice they thought they would never have to make. Taehyun's fleet remained in orbit, refugees with nowhere else to go. Every day he watched Earth below and wondered if the Council would change their minds. Every day the answer was the same. No. But something was happening on Earth that the Council couldn't control. A young officer named Suho did something that would change everything. He hacked into Earth's global communication network and broadcast a message to every screen on the planet. The Council tried to stop him, but it was too late. My name is Suho, he said, looking directly into the camera. For 3 days I've watched recordings from the Void Swarm attacks. I've seen children crying for their parents. I've seen entire species facing extinction. And I've watched our Council do nothing. He showed footage from the destroyed worlds. People couldn't look away. The images were too terrible, too real. We spent 10,000 years hiding from our nature, Suho continued. We were afraid of being violent, afraid of being dangerous. But look at this. Right now, choosing to do nothing while we have the power to help. That's not peace. That's cowardice. The Council tried to arrest Suho, but it was too late. His message had reached everyone. Within hours, humans were gathering in cities across Earth. They demanded the Council vote again. That night, something else happened that surprised everyone. Commander Kiwan, the head of Earth's Guardian program, activated ancient protocols that hadn't been used in 10,000 years. The Guardians were humans trained in military tactics as a cultural tradition. They learned strategy, combat, and warfare as history. No one ever expected them to actually fight. But now Kiwan sent out a call to all Guardians. Anyone who wishes to volunteer, report to your nearest military facility. We're going to help the coalition. Ambassador Nari made her own choice. She walked into Chancellor Daehyun's office and placed her diplomatic credentials on his desk. I resign, she said simply. Nari, please, think about what you're doing. I have thought about it. For 3 days I've thought about nothing else. We can't hide anymore. If we have the power to save lives and we choose not to, then we're not peaceful. We're just selfish. She joined Taehyun's fleet as a liaison officer. When the coalition crew saw her, they cheered. It was the first sign of hope they'd had in days. The Chancellor watched all of this happen. He watched his people volunteer by the thousands. He watched his officers join the coalition. He watched Earth change before his eyes. Finally, he called an emergency session of the Council. "We cannot stop this," he told them. "Our people have made their choice. We can either support them or stand in their way. I vote we support them." The Council debated for 6 hours. In the end, they agreed. Earth would allow volunteers to join the coalition forces. They wouldn't force anyone to fight, but they wouldn't stop those who wanted to help. Within 48 hours, 500,000 humans had enlisted. Taehyun couldn't believe it. In 2 days, Earth had mobilized a force larger than most coalition militaries. And they weren't done. Factories that had built civilian ships for 10,000 years were being converted. Museums that held ancient weapons were being opened. Humans were waking up technology that most of the galaxy thought was impossible. Hyejin stood in one of Earth's military museums, staring at a warship that was 10,000 years old. Engineers were working on it, bringing it back to life. "This is incredible," she said to Nari. "This ship should be dead. The technology is ancient. How is it still working?" "We maintained everything," Nari explained. "We promised ourselves we would never need these weapons again. But we also promised we would never forget how to use them if we had no choice. Every ship, every weapon, every defensive system. We kept them all working just in case. You really believe this day might come?" Nari looked sad. "We hoped it wouldn't, but yes, we believed it might." Commander Kiwan organized the volunteer force quickly. He divided them into fleets, each with its own purpose. He appointed officers, assigned ships, and created battle plans. It was like watching history come alive. Captain Ji-hoon, the pilot who had first intercepted Taehyun's fleet, was given command of the Vanguard Squadron. They called themselves the Old Guard. Every pilot was a volunteer who had trained their whole life for a war they never expected to fight. Admiral Taehyun's second officer, Yuna, watched the humans prepare with amazement. She had never seen anything like it. These people moved with purpose and precision. They knew exactly what they were doing. "How long have they been preparing for this?" she asked Nari. 10,000 years, Nari said quietly. "We hoped we'd never need it, but we were always ready." On the 6th day after Sanctuary Prime's destruction, Commander Kiwan stood before the assembled volunteer force. 500,000 humans looked back at him. Behind them, ships filled the sky. "I won't lie to you," Kiwan said. His voice was broadcast to every ship, every station, every soldier. "We're going to fight an enemy that has destroyed nearly 1,000 worlds. Many of us won't come home, but we're going anyway." "Do you know why?" The crowd was silent. "Because 10,000 years ago our ancestors made a choice. They chose peace. They chose to be better. And being better doesn't mean hiding when people need help. It means standing up when no one else can. Today we honor their choice by making our own. We choose to protect. We choose to defend. We choose to be warriors so others don't have to be." The crowd erupted in cheers. Yuna felt tears on her face and didn't wipe them away. These humans were going to save the galaxy. She believed it now. The first human expeditionary fleet was ready. 50 warships, ancient but powerful. 100 support vessels. 500,000 volunteers. And one destination, the Threshold System, a coalition mining colony that was currently under attack by a Void Swarm advance fleet. As the fleet prepared to jump to hyperspace, Nari found Taehyun on his bridge. She looked worried. "We're afraid," she said quietly. "Not of dying. We're afraid of remembering what we used to be. We're afraid we'll enjoy the violence, that we'll become monsters again." Taehyun looked at her for a long moment. Then he put a hand on her shoulder. "Then remember what you became. Warriors aren't defined by violence. They're defined by what they choose to protect. Don't forget that," Nari nodded. Around them, ships began powering up their jump drives. "All ships," Commander Kiwan's voice came through the communications. "Jump coordinates locked. Destination Threshold System. Remember why we're doing this. Not for glory. Not for revenge. We fight to protect. We fight because no one else can. Jumping in 3, 2, 1. The stars stretched and bent as the fleet entered hyperspace. Earth disappeared behind them. Ahead of them waited the Void Swarm. Humanity was going to war for the first time in 10,000 years. The galaxy would never be the same. From old legends to fierce warriors, humans joined the battle. The Threshold System was dying when the human fleet arrived. 3 Void Swarm bioships orbited the mining colony. pulling apart the defensive stations one by one. Below them on the planet's surface, 8,000 colonists huddled in shelters and prayed for rescue. Then the stars seemed to open up, and 50 human warships emerged from hyperspace. The Void Swarm ships immediately turned to face the new threat. They were massive creatures, more biological than mechanical. Each one was covered in organic armor and weapons that grew from their bodies like tumors. They had destroyed hundreds of worlds. They didn't know fear. They were about to learn. All ships combat formation Delta, Commander Kiwan ordered. His voice was steady and calm. Ji-hoon, take your squadron and hit their left flank. Minji, you're with me on the center attack. Remember your training. Protect each other. Captain Ji-hoon felt his heart pound as he guided his fighter into position. Around him, 11 other pilots from the Old Guard squadron followed his lead. They had practiced these maneuvers thousands of times in simulations, but simulations didn't shoot back. Old Guard, stay tight, Ji-hoon said to his squadron. We're going to show them what humans can do. The swarm ships opened fire. Purple energy beams cut through space toward the human fleet. It was the same weapon that had destroyed countless coalition ships. Nothing could dodge it. Nothing could survive it. But the human ships moved in ways the swarm had never seen. They twisted and spun, their movements fluid and impossible. The energy beams missed by centimeters. The swarm ships tried to adjust their aim, but the humans were already somewhere else. First Officer Minji watched from Kiwan's flagship as Ji-hoon's squadron executed the Terran spiral. 12 ships diving straight toward a swarm vessel, spinning around each other in a complex pattern. The swarm tried to target them but couldn't predict their movements. At the last second, the squadron split apart and fired all their weapons at once. The concentrated fire punched through the swarm's organic armor like paper. Direct hit, someone shouted on the command bridge, but the swarm vessel was still alive. It lashed out with tentacle-like weapons, trying to catch the human fighters. Ji-hoon pulled his ship into a roll that should have been impossible. The tentacle missed him by meters. This is insane, Yuna breathed. She was flying as part of a coalition support wing, watching the humans fight. They're not just good. They're playing with it. Like they were born for this, she was right. 10,000 years of peace hadn't erased humanity's instincts. It had only buried them. Now those instincts were awake again, and they were terrifying. Commander Kiwan's flagship, the Indomitable Spirit, engaged the largest swarm vessel directly. It was a mothership, 3 times the size of any human warship. Its weapons could destroy a planet. All forward batteries fire, Kiwan ordered. The Indomitable Spirit's weapons came online. Reality-warping missiles that bent space itself. Plasma lances that burned at the temperature of stars. Kinetic impactors moving at nearly light speed. These were weapons the galaxy thought were theoretical. Humans had been building them for 10,000 years. The mothership's armor held for exactly 3 seconds. Then it began to break apart. But the victory came with a price. A swarm tentacle caught a human destroyer, crushing its hull. Another bioship released thousands of smaller organisms that attached to human fighters, eating through their armor. Colony ship Bright Hope is under attack, Ji-hoon heard through his communications. He looked at his tactical display and saw a civilian transport trying to evacuate colonists. A swarm fighter was pursuing it. Old Guard, with me. Ji-hoon didn't wait for orders. He pushed his engines to maximum and dove toward the colony ship. His squadron followed without hesitation. The swarm fighter fired. The colony ship's shields collapsed. Thousands of people were about to die. Ji-hoon put his ship between the weapon and the colony vessel. The energy beam hit his fighter directly. Alarm screamed in his cockpit. His shields failed. His hull was breaching, but he bought enough time. The colony ship jumped to hyperspace and escaped. Ji-hoon's down, someone shouted. His ship is critical. Ji-hoon fought to keep his dying fighter stable. Around him, space was full of debris and weapons fire. He couldn't see a way out. Then Nari's voice cut through the chaos. Hold on, Captain. I'm coming to get you. A transport ship swooped in, its rear hatch open. Ji-hoon ejected from his fighter just as it exploded. The force of the blast threw him toward the transport. Nari caught him with a tractor beam and pulled him inside. You're insane, she said when he stumbled onto the transport deck. So are you, Ji-hoon coughed. That was a civilian transport. You're supposed to be evacuating colonists, not rescuing fighters. The colonists are safe. You're not, and I'm not losing anyone else today. But they had lost people. Ji-hoon's best friend, Jae-ho, had been flying on his wing. His ship had been hit by swarm weapons. He didn't eject in time. 3,000 humans died in the Battle of Threshold. Their ships broke apart or were overwhelmed by swarm organisms. They were crushed by tentacles or burned by energy weapons. They died protecting others, but the Threshold colony survived. 8,000 colonists lived because humans stood between them and the swarm. And for the first time in 3 years, the Void Swarm retreated. Commander Kiwan stood on his damaged bridge and watched the swarm ships jump away. Around him, his crew was silent. They had won, but it didn't feel like victory. "Sir, casualties are coming in," Minji reported quietly. 3,000 dead, 8,000 wounded, 17 ships destroyed. Kiwan closed his eyes. 3,000 people, 3,000 families who would receive the worst news of their lives. "Send word to Earth," he said. "Tell them we won. Tell them the price we paid." Admiral Taehyun broadcast a message across all coalition space. His voice was firm and clear. Today, humanity returned to the galaxy. The legends were real, and they are on our side. Across 100 worlds, people watched footage of the battle. They saw human ships moving in impossible patterns. They saw humans sacrificing themselves to save others. They saw the Void Swarm retreat for the first time ever. Hope returned to the galaxy, but in the deep darkness of space, far beyond any star, the Void Swarm's collective intelligence analyzed what had happened. It searched through genetic memories millions of years old, and it remembered. 10,000 years ago, the swarm had encountered humans during a territorial dispute. The swarm had tried to consume human worlds. The humans fought back with such ferocity that the swarm nearly went extinct. They fled to dark space and hid, swearing to return only when humanity was gone. They thought humans had disappeared during the Great Silence. They thought it was safe to return. They were wrong. The collective intelligence made a decision. They would commit their entire force to one goal: exterminate humanity before they could fully mobilize, before they could remember what they truly were. The swarm turned all their ships toward one destination: Earth. Captain Ji-hoon sat in the medical bay, staring at Jae-ho's empty bunk. They had been friends since childhood. They had trained together, laughed together, dreamed together about adventures they never expected to have. Now Jae-ho was gone. Nari found Ji-hoon there hours later. She sat beside him silently. "Does it get easier?" Ji-hoon asked. "Losing people?" "No," Nari said honestly. "It never gets easier. That's how you know you haven't lost your humanity. I almost killed myself saving that colony ship. I didn't even think about it. I just acted, and that's what warriors do. You didn't fight for glory. You fought to protect. That's the difference between a warrior and a monster." Ji-hoon looked at her. "What if the line isn't as clear as we think? Then we keep watching each other. We keep reminding each other why we fight. And if we start to cross that line, we stop." She put a hand on his shoulder. "You're not alone in this. None of us are." Commander Kiwan stood in front of the memorial wall they had created on the ship. 3,000 names were written there in light. He read every single one. Behind him, Minji approached quietly. "Commander, we've received new intelligence. The swarm is mobilizing everything they have. They're coming for us." "Let them come," Kiwan said without turning around. "We'll be ready." "Sir, there's something else. We intercepted a swarm communication. They remember us. From 10,000 years ago. They're afraid of what will become." Kiwan finally turned to look at her. "Then we'll show them they're right to be afraid. Not because we're monsters, but because we're the ones who stand between them and innocent people." The human fleet began repairs and prepared for the next battle. They had proven they could fight. Now they had to prove they could win. The war had only just begun. From old legends to fierce warriors, humans joined the battle 6 months after the Battle of Threshold. The war had spread across 12 star systems. Earth had become a fortress world. Factories worked day and night, building ships and weapons. 5 million humans now served in the military. Every week, new fleets launched into space. Commander Kiwan had been promoted to Marshal of all human forces. The galaxy was winning. For the first time in 3 years, coalition worlds weren't just surviving. They were pushing the swarm back, but something was wrong. Marshal Kiwan noticed it first in the reports from his officers. Human soldiers were becoming more aggressive. They took unnecessary risks. They refused to retreat even when ordered. Some celebrated their kills like hunters showing off trophies. He read a report about a unit that had defeated a swarm patrol. Instead of returning to base, they hunted down the fleeing enemies and killed them all. When their commander asked why, they said it felt good. That report kept Kiwan awake at night. Captain Ji-hoon had become a hero after Threshold. He led Phoenix Squadron now, an elite unit that had won 15 battles without a single loss. Other pilots wanted to be like him. They wanted his confidence, his skill, his reputation, but Ji-hoon was changing. He could feel it himself. During battles, he felt something he had never experienced before. Excitement. Joy. The rush of combat made him feel alive in a way that nothing else did. After their latest victory, his squadron celebrated in the mess hall. They laughed and told stories about their kills. A young pilot named Taman was the loudest. "Did you see that swarm ship try to run?" Taman shouted. "I chased it for 10 minutes before I finished it. Watching it try to escape was the best part." The others laughed. Ji-hoon found himself smiling too. Then he stopped. What were they becoming? Counselor Hieri had been assigned to the fleet 3 months ago. She wasn't a soldier. She was a philosopher and psychologist from Earth. Her job was to watch the troops and report any problems. She reported many problems. "Marshal Kaiwan, we need to talk," she said during a private meeting. "Your soldiers are developing concerning behaviors. Increased aggression. Lack of empathy. Some are showing signs of addiction to combat." Addiction? Kaiwan frowned. "Combat releases chemicals in the human brain that make us feel powerful and alive. For 10,000 years we suppressed those responses. Now we're experiencing them again. Some people can't control it. What do you suggest?" "Pull them from combat. Mandate counseling. Create support systems. And most importantly, change the culture. Right now, your best warriors are celebrated for their kill counts. That's dangerous." Kiwan knew she was right. But removing soldiers from combat during a war seemed impossible. They needed every fighter. The coalition was starting to notice the changes, too. Ambassador Nari heard the whispers in coalition meetings. Some species were becoming afraid of their human allies. "They fight like animals," one delegate said. "What happens when the war is over? Who's going to stop them?" Admiral Taehyun defended humanity at every meeting. But even he was worried. He had seen human soldiers fighting each other in the ship's recreation area. They called it sparring, but it looked like they were trying to hurt each other. Officer Yuna, who had fought alongside humans since Threshold, saw the change most clearly. During a recent battle, she watched a human pilot laugh while destroying a swarm vessel. The pilot's voice over the communications was excited, almost happy. "Did you hear that?" she asked her co-pilot. "Yeah, they're enjoying it." "That's not normal, is it?" Yuna didn't answer. She didn't know what was normal anymore. The breaking point came during the Battle of Eternal Gate. The battle was going well. Human and coalition forces were pushing back a major swarm assault. Then Taman's unit received orders to retreat. A larger swarm force was approaching and they needed to regroup. Taman ignored the order. "We can take them," he told his unit. "Trust me, we're better than they are." His unit followed him deeper into enemy territory. They were chasing a fleeing swarm cruiser, hunting it like prey. The cruiser led them into a trap. 30 swarm fighters surrounded Taman's unit. His soldiers panicked and called for help. But they were too far from support. By the time rescue ships arrived, 23 soldiers were dead. 7 more were critically wounded. Taman survived. When he was brought back to the flagship, Marshal Kaiwan was waiting. "Why did you disobey orders?" Kiwan asked. His voice was cold. "I thought we could win," Taman said. He didn't sound sorry. "We're humans. We're supposed to be the best. 23 people died because of your ego. They died in battle. That's what soldiers do." Kiwan felt anger rise in his chest. Before he could think, he grabbed Taman and shoved him against the wall. "They died because you wanted glory. Because you thought war was a game." It took 3 officers to pull Kiwan away from Taman. When he realized what he had done, Kiwan felt sick. He had almost hurt one of his own soldiers. The violence inside him had taken over just for a moment. That was when he knew Counselor Hieri was right. They were losing control. Captain Ji-hoon heard about the incident. That night he found Taman in the detention area. The younger pilot looked defiant, not ashamed. "You killed 23 people," Ji-hoon said quietly. "I made a tactical error. It happens in war. It wasn't an error. You wanted to prove how good you were. You wanted to feel powerful." Ji-hoon's hands clenched into fists. "I know because I feel it too. Every battle I want more. I want to fight more, win more, destroy more. It's like something inside me woke up and won't go back to sleep. So what? We're warriors. That's what we're supposed to be. Ji-hoon grabbed Taemin by the collar. No, we're supposed to be protectors. There's a difference. He wanted to hit Taemin. He wanted to make him understand through pain. The urge was so strong that Ji-hoon's hand was shaking. Then he let go and stepped back. We're becoming monsters, and I don't know how to stop it. Marshal Ki-won called an emergency conference with Earth's government. Chancellor Dae-hyun appeared on the screen, looking older than Ki-won remembered. What's wrong? Dae-hyun asked. Everything, Ki-won said. He told the Chancellor about the increasing violence, the aggressive behaviors, the loss of control. We're winning the war, but we're losing ourselves. This is exactly what you were afraid of. Dae-hyun was silent for a long moment. Then we need to remind our soldiers who they are. I'm sending help. 3 days later, transport ships arrived from Earth carrying not weapons or supplies but people. Philosophers, artists, teachers, counselors. Led by a woman named Yoonji, they had one mission: preserve humanity's soul while they fought for survival. Yoonji established a new rule. Every combat unit would be assigned a cultural advisor. These advisors would attend briefings, join missions, and counsel soldiers. They would remind warriors why they were fighting. We will not sacrifice our values to win this war, Yoonji announced to the fleet. We are humans, not beasts. We fight to protect, not to destroy. We are warriors, not murderers. Anyone who forgets this will be removed from duty. Ambassador Nari was assigned to Phoenix Squadron as their cultural advisor. Many pilots were angry about it. We don't need a babysitter, one pilot complained. You need someone to remind you why you're here, Nari said firmly, because right now some of you are here for the wrong reasons. She looked at Ji-hoon when she said it. He didn't argue. Taemin was court-martialed by a human tribunal. They found him guilty of disobeying orders and causing unnecessary deaths. He was stripped of his rank and sent back to Earth for rehabilitation. This is a message to everyone, Marshal Ki-won said at the trial. We will not accept glory-seeking. We will not accept needless violence. We are better than this. We have to be. The new policies were controversial. Some soldiers complained they couldn't fight effectively with advisors watching them. Others said it was insulting, but slowly, things began to change. Units with cultural advisors showed fewer aggressive incidents. Soldiers started talking about their feelings instead of hiding them. The celebration of kills decreased. Ji-hoon met regularly with Nari after every mission. At first, he resented it. Then he realized he needed it. I'm afraid, he admitted during one session. I'm afraid of how much I enjoy combat. When I'm fighting, I feel more alive than I ever have. What if I can't go back to normal after this? Then we'll deal with it together, Nari said. You're not the only one feeling this way. And you're not going to face it alone. That's why we're here. 6 months into the war, humanity was still winning battles. But now they were also fighting the war inside themselves. The battle to remain human while acting like warriors. It was, in many ways, the harder fight. Marshal Ki-won stood in front of the memorial wall, now covered with 5,000 names. So many dead, so many sacrifices. But he believed they could win both wars. The war against the swarm and the war against their own nature. They had to. The galaxy was counting on them. From old legends to fierce warriors, humans joined the battle. The final battle was coming. After 8 months of war, human and coalition forces had pushed the Void Swarm back to their core territory. 30 human fleets and 100 coalition armadas gathered at the edge of swarm space. It was the largest military force in galactic history. Marshal Ki-won stood on the bridge of his flagship looking at the battle map. Red dots marked swarm positions. Blue dots marked allied forces. There were so many blue dots now, so many people willing to fight. Are we ready? Admiral Tae-hyun asked. He had become Ki-won's closest ally during the war. As ready as we'll ever be, Ki-won replied. The core nest is protected by 10,000 bioships. Even with our numbers, this will be the bloodiest battle yet. Then let's make sure it's the last one. Captain Ji-hoon prepared Phoenix Squadron for the assault. He had changed during the past months. The wild aggression was gone, replaced by focused determination. Ambassador Nari stood beside him on the flight deck. How are you feeling? She asked. Calm, Ji-hoon said. For the first time in months, I feel calm. I know what I'm doing and why I'm doing it. That's enough. Good. That's what I wanted to hear. She handed him a small pendant. This is from Earth. It's a reminder that you're not just a warrior. You're a human being fighting to protect other human beings. Don't forget that. Ji-hoon took the pendant and attached it to his flight suit. I won't, I promise. Officer Yuna was assigned to fly with the Coalition Support Wing. Over the past months, she had learned to fly alongside humans. She understood their tactics now, their thinking, their hearts. They weren't reckless. They were brave. Coalition forces, stay in formation, she broadcast to her wing. Let the humans take the lead. We cover their flanks and protect the support ships. Trust them. They know what they're doing. The combined fleet jumped to the core nest system. What they found there made even the veterans pause. The core nest was a massive biological structure floating in space, larger than most moons. Around it, thousands of swarm ships waited in perfect formation. This was everything the swarm had left. Their final stand. All ships, this is Marshal Kiwan. The Marshal's voice came through every communication system. What we do today will decide the fate of the galaxy. Fight with courage. Fight with honor. And remember why we're here. For every species. For every world. For the future. For the future. Millions of voices echoed back. The swarm attacked first. Thousands of bioships launched toward the Allied fleet, their weapons glowing with deadly energy. The space between the two forces filled with weapons fire and explosions. Ji-hoon led Phoenix Squadron into the heart of the battle. Around him, 11 other fighters followed his every move. These pilots had trained with him, fought with him, and learned to trust him completely. Phoenix Squadron, execute Operation Homecoming, Ji-hoon ordered. It was a risky plan. Phoenix Squadron would dive through the swarm defenses and attack the core nest directly. If they could damage its central structure, the entire swarm network might collapse. The squadron dove. Swarm ships tried to intercept them, but coalition forces provided covering fire. Admiral Taehyun's command ship unleashed a barrage that cleared a path through the enemy lines. Go, Taehyun shouted. We'll hold them here. Phoenix Squadron raced through the gap. Behind them, the largest space battle in history raged. Ships exploded, weapons carved through space. Millions of people fought for survival, but Ji-hoon focused only on the mission. The core nest grew larger in his viewport. He could see its organic surface pulsing like a living heart. Then swarm defenders appeared. Hundreds of biofighters surrounded Phoenix Squadron. There was no way through. Sir, we can't make it, one pilot said. There are too many. Ji-hoon looked at his tactical display. The pilot was right. They would be destroyed before reaching the nest, unless someone cleared a path. Phoenix Squadron, fall back to support position, Ji-hoon ordered. I'm going in alone. Negative. Ambassador Nari's voice cut through his communications. You're not sacrificing yourself for glory, Ji-hoon. That's not why we're here. I'm not doing it for glory, Ji-hoon said calmly. I'm doing it because it's the only way. Trust me, Nari. I know what I'm doing. Before anyone could stop him, Ji-hoon broke formation and dove toward the core nest. Swarm fighters pursued him, their weapons tearing apart his shields. Then Nari's transport ship appeared beside him. What are you doing? Ji-hoon shouted. I'm not letting you do this alone, Nari said. If you're going to die, then I'm coming with you. That's what friends do. Together they raced toward the core nest. Ji-hoon's fighter barely had any shields left. Nari's transport was never meant for combat. But they kept flying. Behind them, Officer Yuna made a decision. She broke from her coalition formation and followed Phoenix Squadron. Other coalition pilots saw her and followed. Soon dozens of coalition ships were diving after the humans. Humanity taught us courage. Yuna broadcast. Now let's show them they're not alone. The combined force crashed through the swarm defenses. Phoenix Squadron reached the core nest's surface and began planting quantum warheads on its structure. Ji-hoon and Nari flew into an opening in the nest's shell. Inside, they found the nest's central intelligence. It was a massive organic brain pulsing with light and energy. Plant the warhead, Ji-hoon said. This ends now. As Nari activated the warhead, something unexpected happened. The central intelligence spoke to them. Not with sound, but directly in their minds. Stop, please stop. Ji-hoon froze. What? You are human. We remember humans. You nearly destroyed us once. We fled, we hid. For 10,000 years we grew strong and returned. But you were gone. We thought we were safe. You destroyed hundreds of worlds, Nari said. Billions died because of you. We were afraid. We thought we had to destroy you before you destroyed us. Your species is the galaxy's apex predator. Everything we are evolved to survive you. Ji-hoon looked at the warhead. All he had to do was press the button. The entire swarm would die. Revenge for every world they had destroyed. Justice for billions of deaths. His hand moved toward the trigger, then he stopped. Nari, what do I do? I don't know, she admitted. This is your choice, Ji-hoon. He thought about the past 8 months. The violence. The aggression. The struggle to remain human while fighting like a monster. They had almost lost themselves to war. What if the swarm was doing the same thing? Fighting out of fear, not hatred? Leave, Ji-hoon said to the intelligence. Take your ships and leave this galaxy. Find a new home where you don't have to be afraid, where you don't have to destroy to survive. You would show us mercy? After everything we've done? Yes, because that's what makes us different from what you think we are. We're not monsters. We choose to be better. The intelligence was silent for a moment. Then across the entire battle zone, swarm ships stopped fighting. They turned and began jumping away to dark space. We will leave. We will remember this mercy. Perhaps we will learn from it. The core nest began to collapse, not from weapons, but from the swarm abandoning it. Ji-hoon and Nari barely escaped as the structure fell apart. When they emerged, the battle was over. Swarm ships were fleeing in every direction. Allied forces held their fire and watched them go. Marshal Ki-won couldn't believe it. What happened? Humanity happened, Admiral Taehyun said quietly. They chose mercy over vengeance. The war ended not with extinction, but with the swarm's voluntary exile. Across the galaxy, people celebrated, but the celebrations were different than they might have been. There was no parade of conquered enemies, no displays of destroyed ships. Instead, there was relief, and hope. Marshal Ki-won stood before the combined fleet and gave his final order. All human forces begin demobilization. Return home. You've done what you came to do. You protected the innocent, you defended the defenseless, and you proved we can fight without losing our souls. I'm proud of every one of you. Across dozens of ships, soldiers cheered, but they were also crying. The war was over. They could finally rest. Captain Ji-hoon retired from military service. He joined Ambassador Nari as a cultural liaison, helping other species understand humanity. They traveled across coalition space, teaching and learning. Officer Yuna became the first coalition pilot to train at Earth's Combat Academy. She would teach future generations that courage wasn't about violence. It was about knowing when to fight and when to show mercy. Admiral Taehyun became the first coalition officer to serve on Earth. He helped integrate human and coalition forces, building bridges between species. Taemin, the soldier who had lost himself to violence, completed his rehabilitation. He became an advocate for peace, traveling with Counselor Hyeri to help other soldiers deal with their trauma. Earth changed too. The factories stopped producing warships and went back to building civilian vessels. The orbital defenses remained active, but the weapons were powered down. Humanity would remain ready, but they would also remain peaceful. Chancellor Daehyun established the Warrior Guardian Doctrine. It stated that humans would always defend the innocent, but they would never seek conquest. They would be the galaxy's protectors, not its rulers. Marshal Ki-won retired to become a teacher. He helped design programs to prepare humans for the possibility of future conflicts, but also to ensure they never forgot the cost of war. 1 year after the battle, a memorial was built on Earth.